Hi there. Welcome to the Windows Virtual Desktop Partner Learning Series. My name is James Graham. I'm a Partner Technical Architect focusing on our modern workplace solutions. Joining me today is my colleague, George Wood. George, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is George Wood. I'm a Cloud Solutions Architect, partner-facing Cloud Solutions Architect, focusing on apps and infrastructure, but mostly on the infrastructure side of things.
Thanks, George. So, welcome to Module 1, where I will be taking you through a high-level overview of Windows Virtual Desktop. So just to level set, I'd like to talk about the typical virtualization use cases and scenarios, what we see typically in the market. For example, VDI typically approaches to address security and regulatory requirements, and this is mainly focused in financial services industry, healthcare and government industry, where there are strict regulatory and security and compliance requirements that IT will have to be aware of and work with. So therefore, virtualization scenarios is really catered for these types of environments in the past, to allow IT to really have a controlled environment to meet those requirements. We also see virtualization scenarios prevalent in organizations that have elastic workforces. So therefore, those that really need to expand and shrink their workforces, maybe with seasonal workers, short-term employees, contractors or partners access. So being able to provide quickly provision desktops for these users. We also see scenarios where there are mergers and acquisitions. So suddenly a workforce can expand quite rapidly to bring in new employees, new users. So therefore IT needs to be able to quickly expand. So we see sort of desktop as a service type scenarios in these businesses. We also see needs for specific employees, whether that will be bring your own device and mobile working scenarios. So users that are typically on the go will need to access their corporate desktop, corporate apps, corporate data whilst they're on the move, and IT want to provide secure environment for those users to work in, access those desktops and data and apps. We also have call centers and branch worker type scenarios. So these could be shift workers, perhaps all sort of using the same devices, so device sharing. So we want to have them access to their corporate data and apps on those devices. And then we also have specialized workloads. So typically here we have to provision high-end workstations for these users to run these these high-performance workloads. So we want to be able to virtualize these to provide to reduce that cost of providing those high-end workstations. So these users being able to have high-performance workloads on any device. And where we see this really is in design and engineering or software dev test environments. So our vision of Windows Virtual Desktop is to really have employees stay as productive as possible with a virtualized experience on a PC, on a phone, on a tablet, or even on a browser. But we want that experience to be similar to them having a physical PC sitting right in front of them. We want to provide a simplified management, provisioning, and access to corporate data and apps. So make it simpler for IT to manage these and provision these resources. And we also want to support customers as they migrate to cloud. So a lot of customers these days are on their journey to the cloud. So we really want to provide them with support and simplified tools to get there. And this will help with reducing the costs and the resources associated with managing your on-premise infrastructure as well. So we understand that customers still require on-premise infrastructure, and we really want to help reduce the costs and resources associated with managing that. And a lot of customers are on their major transformation journey at the moment, and we want to really be able to empower IT to be able to transform the workplace and make it easier to adopt modern ways of working if they fall into these categories, these scenarios. And virtualization is still a key technology that they need to leverage. So I just want to talk about what Windows Virtual Desktop actually is. Essentially, Windows Virtual Desktop is a Microsoft service that runs on Azure for virtual desktop infrastructure and remote desktop session host management. This is something we've been working on for quite a long period of time now, and we really see this as the next major evolution of remote desktop services. And the benefit of this, that it's running on Azure, really gives you that ability to scale. I suppose the typical challenge for customers where they have their hosts located in data centers, you know, if you need to think about how you upgrade those hosts or expand and scale those hosts, when we talk about looking at reducing our user density and therefore having to purchase new servers to accommodate for that, or upgrading existing servers, you know, these can really have long timeframes associated with them in terms of the procurement of said hardware, even the decision to choose which hardware you would provision in the first instance. So we have those long lead times, and then we have the impact, then the cost impact and the labor impact and the time impact of provisioning that hardware. You know, this can take months to if you wanted to scale out your host infrastructure. But with the power of Azure, we can turn what can sometimes take months, weeks, months into the ability to scale in minutes. And that's really one of the key benefits of having this service running on Azure. In terms of the OS experience that you gain with Windows Virtual Desktop, one of the key benefits is the first and only way to experience a full, truly native Windows 10 multi-session experience, which is optimized for Office 365 ProPlus. So when we talk about this modern desktop experience for end users, you know, that cloud connected experience, leveraging the power of AI, Microsoft 365, the modern Edge browser, Cortana, all of those key features that we see typically in a physical environment or provisioned as a personal desktop. What we want to provide is that true multi-session experience that you typically get with a server environment, but also the true benefits of that modern desktop experience of Windows 10 and Office 365 ProPlus. We also understand that a lot of customers are still struggling with their move from Windows 7 to Windows 10, and you should be aware that on January the 14th of this year, Windows 7 went end of support. So for physical devices, you can still gain access to extended security updates, which is a paid-for service. However, to help customers with their journey to the cloud, we are providing on Windows Virtual Desktop extended security updates free of charge for Windows 7 virtual desktops running on the Windows Virtual Desktop service. So essentially, if you have apps that you still need to run on a Windows 7 desktop, then you can host those in Azure, and you can feel assured that you will receive the free extended security updates 3 years to give you more time to look to move those workloads to Windows 10. We also support Windows Server RDS, so Server 2012 R2 and onwards. And I suppose the key benefit of this service again is around the flexibility, allowing you to provide users with access to desktops, but also remote apps as well. We also integrate with the security management of Microsoft 365. So essentially you get all of those key features around identity protection, so conditional access, role-based access controls, multi-factor authentication, and also the fact that this is running in Azure. You gain the Azure security benefits and the compliance offerings that we have around that. And one of the key points before I do move on to the next slide to look at the higher level architecture is the benefit of having these hosts running in this service is we leverage something called reverse connect. So essentially what that means is you don't need to open any inbound ports on these hosts, so that really gives you a more secure experience. So you don't need to open your 3389 for remote desktop, etc. So a real added benefit of extra security layers. So this slide takes a look at the high-level architecture and running through. Essentially, when a user connects to the WVD service, we use Azure Active Directory as the identity provider, which thus allows you to leverage the additional security controls that I just mentioned previously. So being able to leverage conditional access and compliance to ensure that where that user is accessing this resource from, that's from a trusted and secure location to provide you with that additional peace of mind. You can also leverage multi-factor authentication for certain scenarios whereby it may not be a trusted location that they're tapped in or accessing the service from. And what you see is the Microsoft managed control plane. So we've completely redesigned the infrastructure to leverage native Azure platform services to allow us to scale automatically. So you can think about Azure Front Door as a global load balancer for the RDP connection, Azure App Services and Azure for hosting the infrastructure services, and Azure SQL DB for hosting the RDS brokering databases. So leveraging these services is the main reasons why this service is so cost effective, which is the purpose of the cloud really, and what it's built for. And you can see here in the diagram essentially the typical roles that you have in RDS. This is something that is managed now by us, by Microsoft. And in the next slide, I'll go into a bit more detail around what the key differences are between RDS and Windows Virtual Desktop. But essentially, we manage those roles as a service. So essentially, what you will need to do as a customer is simply deploy your host, your resource pools. So, as previously mentioned, Windows Virtual Desktop will give you access to that, to the only multi-session Windows 10 experience, which includes compatibility with the Microsoft Store, existing Windows, buying the business apps, while delivering those cost advantages. It allows you to deliver both full desktops and remote apps. You can also use this for persistent Windows 10 experience, so single user virtual desktops. And like I've already mentioned, you gain access to Windows 7 desktops also with those extended security updates up to 2023. And we're also aware that customers have those investments in Config Manager, so you can still leverage those existing management tools such as Config Manager. You can also leverage Intune as well for managing. And if you have on-premise resources that you need to connect back into, you can leverage tools such as Express Routes or VPN to easily connect back into those. So when we talk about the key differences between traditional VDI and remote desktop services, there's a stark difference between your traditional approach and what we provide with Windows Virtual Desktop. So we can see here on the left, traditionally all of these roles would need to be spun up on a server, running these roles, and you will need to maintain and manage these servers, these roles, which presents some scaling challenges. And traditionally VDI environments can be expensive to run and maintain. And what Windows Virtual Desktop is really takes a huge amount of the pain away from running those roles and services. So essentially the brokering, licensing, maintenance, network, server, storage, hosting, all of those elements are now managed by Microsoft in Windows Virtual Desktop. So you don't need to worry about managing and maintaining those resources or scaling those resources. That is all taken care of by Microsoft. And what you're left with doing is essentially managing the licensing aspects, so the entitlements, and being able to spin up your resources, so your host pools, your desktops, and providing the remote apps. So those elements can be managed by the customer or the partner. And with the benefit of running this on Azure, we provide the choice and flexibility. So when I mentioned in one of the first slides, I talked about the challenges of having different types of hosts, being able to spin up those resources, the time and the cost and the effort, being able to determine what is the best type of host for your workloads, for your environment, for your end users. You really get the flexibility of choice on Azure with access to various pre-configured virtual machine types. If we look here, so we have the A series, essentially our most cost-effective option, so the entry-level option, and typical examples would be maybe dev test environments or hosting low-traffic websites. We have the burstable series, the B series, so this provides an economical, low-cost option for workloads that typically run on sort of low, moderate baseline CPU performance, but sometimes require significantly higher as and when demand rises. We also have our D series. These are typically where we see for most production workloads. So we deem these as our general purpose types of VMs and cover most of the production workload scenarios. We have the F series. These provide compute intensive, so leveraging hyperthreading for typical examples such as batch processing or web servers. We have the M series, which is optimized for memory, so these can support large in-memory workloads. And then if you're looking for graphical intensive workloads, we have the GPU accelerated VMs available. So we have the NVV3 series, so NVIDIA powered. We also have now the V4, which is powered by AMD GPUs, and these GPU accelerated VMs are great for sort of AI and deep learning type workloads. HPC, which is the high performance workloads, great for financial risk modeling, molecular modeling, research type workloads. And then finally, we have the L series, which are optimized for storage workloads. So, any workloads that require low latency, these are best to support those. So any of these VM types are available to leverage for your hosts that run with Windows Virtual Desktop. And if you want to look into more detail around these, you can access the link provided at the bottom of this slide. That goes into more detail around these, and also if any updates have occurred since this slide, you'll be able to see those there also. So in terms of regional availability, worldwide availability, with Azure we have 56 regions worldwide, and we are rolling out Windows Virtual Desktop to as many of these regions. We continue to do this based on demand. You will notice that on this slide that not all regions have a gateway. However, that shouldn't deter you from starting to use Windows Virtual Desktop. You can create host pools in any of the available regions shown on this slide, and then essentially Traffic Manager will route those resources to the nearest available gateway. And as we begin to expand the management plane availability across more regions, there's no action required from yourself. So essentially the traffic will always be routed to your nearest gateway. So no action required from yourselves as these spin up. And we also have the experience estimator. So if you wanted to understand more about the experience based on your resource locations, then you can access the online experience estimator. So essentially you can use the online experience estimator tool to measure your latency to the nearest control plane location without actually having to deploy a host pool yourselves. The tool is web-based. The tool measures to the nearest control plane the latency, and as well from the control plane to the Azure data center region you select to deploy your host pools in. So really a great way really to estimate the potential experience you get without having to take the time to spin up those resources. And as I said at the start, we continue to spin up more management plane gateway regions as we continue throughout this journey with yourselves. So please let us know any regions or gateways that aren't available here, and we will continue to expand as demand grows. In terms of the supported OSs, so some of these I've mentioned already, but I'll quickly run through them again. We have, so we support Windows 7 single session. So we don't support remote app on Windows 7. It's full desktop only. We have Windows 10 Enterprise single session, so private one-to-one Windows 10 Enterprise desktops. And then we also have the Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session. We have gallery images available for Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session. So we have the Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session, and we also have the Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session with Office 365 ProPlus. And those gallery images have been optimized by us. However, you can create your own images and bring your own images, and though that will go into more detail in one of the later modules in this series. And as previously stated, we have you're able to provide Windows Server 2012 R2, 2016 and 2019 hosts also. And these VMs will exist in the customer's Azure subscription. So in terms of positioning, Windows 10 multi-session, it's first best to talk about what is available today. So typically to provide that multi-session capability, this needs to be run on Windows Server. So that comes with its own, I suppose, constraints. You are constrained to Win32 apps only, so not able to run modern apps. Typically we see the perpetual version of Office, so Office 2019, Office 2016, which doesn't have that connected experience and access to the more modern productivity tools that we have in say Office 365 ProPlus. And also this will typically be in the long-term servicing channel, so doesn't benefit from the productivity, security, and experience updates that you get with an up-to-date Windows 10 Enterprise. So with Windows 10 Enterprise, we provide 2 feature updates a year. So in that sort of legacy server environment, you don't realize the benefits of those new features as they come out. So it's not to say, so in virtualization, you are able to provide that Windows 10 Enterprise, but as a single session. So again, you gain all the benefits of the modern desktop experience, but it's on a single user experience. So what we wanted to do, our vision with Windows 10 multi-session was really bridge or provide the best of these 2 scenarios. So we wanted a scalable multi-session modern Windows user experience that benefits from the security benefits of Windows 10 Enterprise. Allows you to not just access your Win32 apps, but also modern apps. Leverage the benefits, productivity benefits of Office 365 ProPlus, and then have something that's always kept up to date in a semi-annual channel. So being able to leverage the security updates on a monthly basis, but also the feature updates that brings those new features to the end users. So essentially, you're able to provide, a truly scalable multi-session environment that has the power of the modern desktop included. Including such things as Edge, Cortana, the store. And essentially, what we want to do is really reduce IT costs. So if you want to provide that modern Windows 10 experience, it comes at a huge cost in the virtualized environment. However, with the multi-session capability, you want to be able to scale that environment to multiple users when compared to the single session. So just touching on how we virtualize Windows 7 in Windows Virtual Desktop. So again, reiterating, you get the 3 years extended security updates included within Windows 7 workloads running in Windows Virtual Desktop. It does require full Windows 7 desktop, and I want you to consider this as your last resort. So we have a service called the Assure service that will help you with your application compatibility challenges when moving from Windows 7 to 10, and I'll talk about that in more detail on the next slide. But essentially, we want this to be, your last resort. So really look to move these workloads to Windows 10 in the first instance to be able to have your users experience that full power of the modern desktop to be more productive and secure. However, if you get to the point where you have to have your apps running on Windows 7, then this would be the best place to run those Windows 7 workloads as you get those 3 years of extended security updates without having to pay for those, which you have to do in a physical environment. So I discussed I mentioned the Assure program there on the previous slide. I just want to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So Assure was announced a year or so ago, and it was really Microsoft us putting our money where our mouth is. So we always talked about how we see little app compatibility challenges when moving applications from Windows 7 to 10. And in order to back up that statement, we provide application compatibility services at no additional cost to our customers. So essentially, if a customer has an application that ran fine on Windows 7 and it doesn't run on Windows 10, we provide services to get that application running on Windows 10, whether that's providing a shim or a new version or access to APIs or bug fixes. We do that. And essentially, we've now expanded this to Windows Virtual Desktop. So any virtualized apps that run on Windows Server remote session hosts, will run on Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session as part of Windows Virtual Desktop. So that is our commitment to you. So we will help you whether those applications are coming from physical to virtual or session host to Windows 10 multi-session. We will help you move those apps over. Also, any apps running in Windows 7 and Windows 10 single session, so VDI environments, we will also help those get to Windows 10 multi-session. So that's part of our commitment to you to help migrate to Windows Virtual Desktop. And so essentially, if you want to leverage this service, can be accessed on the link there, so aka.ms/app-assure. And essentially, when you apply for that process, you will be assigned a application manager who will then work with you or the customer to start understanding which apps are challenging, and then work with you to get those moved into the new platform. So in the next couple of slides, we'll just talk about the licensing requirements for Windows Virtual Desktop. So on this slide, it shows what you need, or what you need as your entitlements to Windows Virtual Desktop. So any customers on Microsoft 365 E3 or E5, Microsoft 365 A3, A5, student use benefits, F1 licenses, M365 for business. If you just have Windows 10 Enterprise, E3 or E5, education licenses, and also the VDA per user licenses. All of these entitle you to run Windows Virtual Desktop clients. And also, if you're running server workload, you can bring those RDS CALs with you also to access server workloads. And then in terms of what you pay for, you will only pay for the virtual machine storage and networking consumed when the users are using the service. So essentially what you pay for is your host pools, your hosts that run on Azure, but also you're able to take advantage of reserved instances as well to achieve further discounts. So, taking advantage of these options, you can save up to 75% versus typical pay-as-you-go pricing. We also now have monthly payment options for reserved instances. But essentially, on Azure, you have the flexibility to pick any of those VMs and storage options that match your use cases. So think back to the previous slide whereby I went through all of the different types of VM options for you. You have the flexibility to pick those and cater those to your environment and your workloads and your user experience that you're looking to achieve. So in the next few slides, I just want to talk about the optimizations we've made to Microsoft Office. So as I previously stated, the most powerful user experience really is a full Windows 10 desktop combined with Office 365 ProPlus. This allows you to have access the most productive experience. We talk about Windows 10 features such as timeline, experiences in Office 365 ProPlus, which is PowerPoint Designer, and collaboration across all of the Office apps, including PowerPoint and Excel. Being able to have a secure modern environment, so being able to leverage tools like Microsoft Defender AVP for endpoint detect and response services, and also lowering that TCO, so making the IT environment easier to manage, maintain, being able to leverage modern deployment techniques and modern analytics services to provide actionable insights into your environment. So that's really our goal, to provide all of those benefits that you've typically seen in a physical environment. We want to provide that in virtualized environments, and that's something why we built this service, and what we're building towards is providing that great user experience for users in virtualized environments. To help us do this, we acquired a company called FSLogix some time ago now, not necessarily new news, but FSLogix have really helped us provide the benefits of the multi-session capability, and being able to provide that modern desktop experience. And a few of these pieces of technology from FSLogix have helped us to achieve that, particularly the profile containers. So really allowing us to decouple that user profile from the host. So essentially profile containers which contain the user profile. So typical user profile, so application data, desktop documents, etc. Allowing those containers to be stored on file share, whether that's be a file server or leveraging Azure files or Azure NetApp files for large organizations. But essentially, where these profile disks are mounted, they will dynamically attach as the user logs in, and then they have full access to their desktop and apps. Excuse me. Just minimize that. Thank you. We also have, so we also understand that not every customer leverages the profile containers that are provided by FSLogix. They may use third-party user profile management, but we still want you to be able to have the benefits of having the FSLogix containers. So we provide the Office 365 containers, which can containerize the some of the elements associated with Office, such as the OST file, OneDrive cache, Windows Search DB database, etc. So that you can use your own user profile management or user profile containers, but also use the Office 365 containers also. If you use the user profile containers by FSLogix, the Office 365 containers are included as a benefit within those. One of also the challenges that FSLogix answers is having that image sprawl. So imagine multiple departments with multiple application stacks associated with those. Typically you may have multiple images to support those stacks, but essentially with app masking and FSLogix, you have the ability to have just a single image, but hiding each of those individual applications away from areas of an organization that doesn't need them. So essentially you could have a single image, and then each departmental organization will only have visibility of the applications that they require or use. So app masking is a fantastic tool to really reduce your OS image management. And then Java redirection is a great capability to allow you to have multiple versions of Java existing on the same device. So if you have an app or website that requires a specific version of Java, then you can essentially attach that to the app or website to leverage that specific version, and it doesn't have an impact that there are multiple versions of Java running on that device. Now, in terms of the optimizations we've made to Outlook in ProPlus to support Windows Virtual Desktop environments, so typically in VDI environments, in non-persistent environments, you haven't been able to leverage cache mode. So this is something as default in Windows 10 multi-session, so cache mode is usable. We've also made a few changes so to speed things up. So we now sync the inbox before the calendar, just to ensure that you have a fast startup time. Provided the option for admins to reduce the calendar sync window. You can also reduce the number of folders that are synced by default. All of these things just to help you get up and running faster. We've optimized Windows Desktop Search, so it's now per user. Various other network optimizations, and this is something we continue to evolve as we move forward with this service. So we continue to make optimizations to the Office 365 ProPlus applications as we receive feedback from customers that use the service. Just point to note that the sync inbox before calendar is the default from version 1807 of Office 365 ProPlus. So just in case you're wondering there. And the same for OneDrive for Business as well. Again, typically in non-persistent environments, this has become a challenge. But for Windows 10 multi-session, you now have the ability to leverage those OneDrive for Business features where you weren't able to in the past. So, for example, known folder move, so able to dynamically move your users' desktop pictures, documents to OneDrive for Business, and they will roam with the user. So this is great as a migration technique as well. So if you're migrating to OneDrive for Business, this is a great capability to switch on to have your desktop pictures documents redirected to OneDrive. Files on demand capability, so available in Windows Virtual Desktop, so in non-persistent multi-session desktop. You have the ability to access files on demand now, help with the power of FSLogix, and automatically populate user profile holes, like I said, with known folder move. And we also have a OneDrive per machine installer as well. Let me just clear. Okay, so one of the key questions that is asked by customers is why Office ProPlus versus perpetual versions such as Office 2016. So the way I like to answer that is consider Office Perpetual as a stagnate or a point in time version of Office. You know, for example, when Office 2019 Perpetual was released, it was already months behind Office 365 ProPlus. So essentially, whilst you get the security updates, you don't gain the feature updates that you get with ProPlus. And with ProPlus, you gain access to the real-time co-authoring across all of the Office apps, allow you to tag users in real time, leverage those cloud connected and AI powered features. And essentially this is, you know, Office ProPlus is something that gets improves each month with each of the feature updates that we include and security updates that evolve with threats. And also as a user, you have the added benefit of having the ability to install ProPlus across your multiple devices as part of your entitlement. Now, in terms of what that experience looks like, if I just quickly flip to Word, for example. So this is Word running in Windows Virtual Desktop, and you can see by the glyph. But in Word running in a Windows Virtual Desktop, you gain access to those modern experience. So being able to tag users and also being able to leverage things like you know, acronyms finder, etc. So some of the new features of Office ProPlus that you won't get in Office 2019 in the perpetual version. So the ability to have the modern search capability within the applications, and also being able to leverage the data services as well to be able to pull in additional data and leverage those AI benefits such as design ideas and Excel. So, you know, so these are available in Windows 10 multi-session running Office 365 ProPlus, but it's not something you get in the perpetual versions of Office. And just flip back to the slide deck. Just on this slide, really call out a couple of key dates, really. So in terms of supportability for the versions of Office, one of the key ones is Office ProPlus on Windows 10 semi-annual channel. So no necessarily end date for support. That's something that's already supported in modern supported versions of Windows 10. And the same applies to Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session. A key date on here is October 2020 for Office 2010 end of support, and also for Office 2013, the service use will end in October 2020. So what that essentially means is, we have the client support, which is the product itself, the life cycle. But when we talk about service use support, we refer to the client being able to connect into Office 365 cloud services such as Exchange Online. So a key date, October 2020. So October this year. Those running on Office 2013. There's impact to accessing those Office 365 cloud services. So in the next couple of slides, next slide, I just want to talk about the different ways in which you can connect to the Windows Virtual Desktop Service. So we have the web browser, so any HTML5 compatible web browser. You can access a service. So we also have the built-in Windows and Mac OS clients. We also have clients available on iOS and Android. And then also, if you have a supported thin client, so IoT Enterprise, for example. But recently, we also announced our partnership with iGel, so providing that first Linux-based thin client to be able to access your Windows Virtual Desktop experience. In terms of what these experiences look like, I'll just show you a very, very quick demo. So for example, so this is what the web client looks like. So you're able to access all of your available resources from any browser, and you'll be able to open these up and gain access to them. We also have the built-in remote desktop client as well, Windows 10. So again, this is an app where you can connect to workloads that have been shared with your identity, and again, you can access them from here. And we also have the start menu integration as well. So if you're using the built-in remote desktop application, you can gain access to these in the start menu as if they were alongside your normal applications. We also have the iOS client as well, which I can show you quickly. So this is it running on my phone as well. So you can see a consistent experience across both the HTML5 browser, the inbuilt remote desktop app, and also on your mobile phone as well. So we wanted to make that experience as consistent as possible across all the different devices. In terms of partner integrations, so we've been working with our key partners to deeply integrate and build upon the Windows Virtual Desktop capabilities. So we know Windows Virtual Desktop is a comprehensive virtualization solution. However, we also recognize that there is a need for different capabilities to serve our broad set of customers. To accommodate this, we've built Windows Virtual Desktop as a platform that can be easily extended and enriched by partners. We have many partners that extend the service through the Azure Marketplace and already working with leading partners, including Citrix, VMware, Lakeside Finprint, some of the ones on this slide here today. There are many more partners here, so if you visit that link on this slide here, you can learn about all the partners we work with and look at them in depth. But I do want to talk about a few of our key relationships. So Citrix Cloud is a partnership we have. So leveraging the benefit of Citrix Cloud, you gain access to those benefits you get with the Citrix, such as hybrid cloud, advanced monitoring, machine creation services, Citrix provisioning, their app layering, auto scaling. So really benefits from those experiences that you're familiar with Citrix, but essentially them layering on their management plane. I guess, George, you work with Citrix a lot. Anything you want to add to this slide?
The only thing that I would add to this is, the benefit and the value that Citrix have developed over the years, and that can layer on top of sort of your WVD estate, and all of the scaling features, the image management features, anything that you'd expect to get from Citrix Cloud. You can really bring that value down to your customers, and then it's up to you how you want to manage that service. Do you want to go down the native Microsoft route, or do you want to go down the Citrix route? And I think it really depends where your skills are as a partner.
Thanks, George. Alongside Citrix as well, in VMworld 2019, there was the key announcement that we have now a partnership with VMware Horizon Cloud. So really being able to, for VMware customers can now benefit, the experience of hybrid Horizon Cloud, such as the monitoring experience, security, flexibility, and the legacy OS support that comes with that. So another key partnership recently announced. So if you're existing VMware Horizon Cloud customer, so you can now have the benefits of the Windows Virtual Desktop, so that Windows 10 multi-session experience. And finally, with Samsung DeX, so I showed you quickly the mobile experience of Windows Virtual Desktop, the remote desktop app. With Samsung DeX, it allows you to have that full desktop experience on your mobile phone. So if you are a Samsung DeX user, you can access Windows Virtual Desktop workloads and project those to a normal desktop screen. And if you've got Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, you can access essentially your full desktop or your remote apps as if they were on a traditional desktop experience. So a real powerful experience leveraging Samsung DeX. And finally, I just want to touch on the partner opportunities that we see with Microsoft Windows Virtual Desktop. We see this as the desktop as a service market is really growing. So referenced by third-party research, we see a 32.1% compound annual growth rate for these types of services. This revenue forecast is talking quite large figures, where we see the growth in revenue up to 2021. And really, where we see the VDI platform going, we see this as moving to a desktop as a service type platform. And where we also see is, customers on their journey to the cloud, we really see a skills shortage across these customers. So therefore, that really does provide opportunity in the market. So the research performed really shows that these areas where we see the largest skill gaps across the clouds, the cloud skills. So, and as we see more demand for customers moving to the cloud, we see a real growth in the requirement for these skills. And where we see customers moving to the cloud, we see them leveraging partners more and more to help them build or maintain these environments that they're moving to or building. So it really presents a huge opportunity for partners to fill this space. And finally, the different types of opportunities by partner type. So, we have your typical fully managed virtual desktop, desktop as a service through Windows Virtual Desktop. We see that as a key opportunity. You're providing that full image management, patch management, profile management. Go-to-market licensing, so desktop as a service related through through the CSP program. There's opportunities there as well. And also, we as Microsoft provide various programs to support partners and customers moving to Windows Virtual Desktop and Azure. And these change over time and vary. So to understand what the most recent or latest programs and offers that are available, just get in touch with your Microsoft contacts, and they'll be able to take you through what is available at this time now. So just a quick recap from what we've covered in this module. So I've we've discussed what Windows Virtual Desktop is. I talked about the various different hosts, the infrastructure, all at a very high level. We've talked about the requirements to access Windows Virtual Desktop, so what you need from a licensing perspective. Talked about the recent optimizations to Microsoft Office to support the non-persistent Windows 10 multi-session. How you can connect to the service, so the different client connectivity options, some of our key partners and integrations, and also finally the partner opportunities. So, what opportunities are there out for you as a partner to leverage Windows Virtual Desktop to provide value to customers. So I want to thank you for listening and watching this session, and look forward to seeing you in some of the later modules. Thank you.